selected for third-year students, all the groups, as an explanation and illustration of the first language acquisition lesson. More videos for the other lessons are coming soon. We have here four main areas which are going to be covered in this session, starting by how do children acquire their language? What are the stages of language development? And how is acquisition processed by the children? And finally, we'll finish with the critical period. So, how do children acquire their language? The phenomenon of language acquisition. Learning language is natural, and babies are born with the ability to learn it. All children, no matter which language their parents speak, learn a language in the same way. So when babies are born, they can make and hear all the sounds in the language all the sounds in the languages in the world. That's about 150 sounds in about 6,500 languages, though no language uses all of these sounds. So the sounds language uses are called phonemes. And for example, English has about 44 phonemes. Some languages use more and some use fewer. So here we understand that children's natural process of learning the language of the community they live in is done in a remarkably short period of time. And in the same way, it takes place largely before the child is 4 years old. All children learn their mother tongue. No child fails to learn it, and language acquisition is carried out in much the same way. Now we move to the stages of language development. So as you see here in this picture, the first stage starts from age 0 to 6 or 7. Here we find vocal play. So the child plays with voices. It's called cooing, okay? And we have already explained this in the class, and we said that cooing means the voices produced by the child, which are or which do not have any meaning. So cooing and babbling, the stage here, cooing and babbling. So we said that the child produces sequences of vowel-like sounds, particularly high vowels similar to E and U, and towards the age of 6 months, all normal children start to babble. So here they start to babble, making long sequences of vowels and consonants of increasingly wide variety, like ba 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 and ga ga ga. So we can also mention here that there are two types of babbling: reduplicated babbling and non-reduplicated babbling. When we say reduplicated babbling, we mean the same consonant is used, like ba ba ba. This is reduplicated. And non-reduplicated is when we have not similar consonants, like ba da gi or ba da ga. So we have here ba and da and ga. Okay? We move here. So here is the second period of babbling. During this phase, from 6 to 16 or to 12, we observe a stage called one-word stage, where the child starts giving names for objects, the first words of the child. Around 12 months or later, the child's acquisition of the concept of the word, usually monosyllabic words, they learn to attach meaning to the same string of words. Then we notice a vocabulary burst when the child starts gradually to use sentence-like structures such as agent and action. Like for example, so here is the vocabulary burst. Like for example, this child says, "Daddy, run." Then there is a mono sorry, there is a morphosyntactic burst. Here it is. It's not clear. So here we have the vocabulary burst, and then the morphosyntactic burst. I know these two words were not mentioned in your polycopies. It's just to make you understand. So then there is a morphosyntactic burst where an enormous increase in the inflectional and functional elements at the age between 24 and 30 months, where most children show a kind of flowering of morphosyntax. So during this period, most children acquire more morphosyntax. And towards the age of 3, we find the stage of telegraphic speech with increasing utterance length and utterances complexity. Sorry. So here are the stages. Cooing and bubbling, the first words, the two-word stage, and the hierarchical stage or the telegraphic speech stage. So this is just a resume of what is in your handout. Now we move to the next slide, the phonological development. So here we start with the process, the acquisition process. By starting with the acquisition process, some contrasts of voicing, place of articulation, nasals, and stops can be perceived by the infants. So infants are able to produce some contrasts that may not appear in the language of their community. We have already spoken about this. This confirms the hypothesis that humans are born with the ability to acquire a language. Infants are able to produce some contrasts that may not appear in the language of their community. So, between 10 and 12 months, the ability to distinguish non-native contrasts diminishes, but the infants will maintain their ability to discriminate their language contrasts. We may also find accurate copying of sounds which occur at around 10-12 months. The child also develops the ability to associate a combination of sounds with a certain object, i.e. they give labels to objects. Of course, these words are going to be different from their adult cognates. Like for instance, instead of saying eating or I want to eat, they just label it hum hum. Also, more than one pronunciation for a given word may occur during the process of approximating adult's language. Let's say hum hum can be also for I want to drink. Okay? The comprehension is not a problem for a child, though production is. For instance, a child may pronounce two words the same way and cannot make a difference in pronunciation. So production is here a problem for the child, but comprehension is not a problem. For example, if an adult repeats the same word or shows the object as pronounced by the child, they know their heads claiming that it is not what the word meant. For instance, a child says tata and used it for both potato and auntie. Just an example. So if he says tata, you respond yes baby if you're his auntie. So he says no tata, meaning no, I want to eat potatoes. Have you understood? Yes. If you have any comments, please do contact me. The early words are mostly monosyllabic here until the age of 2, and they take the form CV or CVC. Sorry. Now we move to the morphological development. Morphological rules are acquired early, whereas affixes and function words are lacking during the two-word stage. Later on, children start constructing rules for the use of different morphemes. They may overgeneralize, for example, gender utterances for both genders, but later they perfect their rules. Let's say the example here of wag. The child says wag, and he knows that when we have two, we say two wags. So the child here retains the rule of the plural. He understands it. Okay? We have also regularity, transparency, and frequency of use are the main criteria for the order of grammatical morphemes acquisition. Um, for example, the simplicity of adding ing makes it acquired earlier than the third person singular s. We have irregular forms that are a bit delayed, and overgeneralization is quite frequent in child speech. For example, they say, she gave me a toy, and they can't retain the rule that give is an irregular verb, and it is she gave me a toy. Okay? So here we have the rule and the order of acquisition. Uh, Irregular forms, as we said, are a bit delayed. Here is what I have been talking about. Let's move to the next slide. Now, the syntactic development. During the syntactic development, we see a development of the word utterances. Like in the one word utterances, the child learns to speak and to say spoon for meaning I want a spoon. Daddy, he calls his daddy, or he wants to go out with daddy. And in the two-word utterances, we find that the child composes two utterances to mean sentence, like want cookie and where daddy. And in the telegraphic speech, as we have been explaining before, cat drink milk for the cat wants to drink milk, or the cat drinks milk. And then ride bus. During this period, we find